start now. This is a logbook entry from the 20th of February 1976. Has anybody heard details about a gay conservatives group which is being formed? Surely this is a contradiction in terms, a bit like an RAC pedestrian group. In the hand of another volunteer, people can regard themselves as gay conservatives, or Christian Marxists even if these are contradictions. So what? And yet another, finally answering the original question, it's listed in the card under Conservative Group.
You're listening to The Logbooks, untold stories from Britain's LGBTQ+ history.
I'm Tash Walker.
And I'm Adam Zmith.
Since we finished making the Logbooks podcast in 2022, we've been writing a book published by Faber. It's called The Logbooks, and Adam's turned 40.
You too!
I don't look it though.
The book goes deeper into Switchboard's archive and other archives, and includes more stories from the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties. 4 decades!
Listening to queer people's essential stories is always central to our work.
So in this season of the podcast, we want to share some of the interviews we conducted as research for our book.
Now you too can listen to all the amazing, powerfully queer storytellers we've listened to in their own words, with their own voices. Adam, this week you're bringing someone we haven't interviewed before.
That's right. This is my friend Faizan, who we didn't interview for the podcast, but as we were working on the book, I was like, actually, I really want to speak to Faizan and get their story. They're a little bit younger than a lot of our other interviewees. They're kind of like slightly older than us, but younger than a lot of the other ones. And they're just like a fun storyteller, by the way. You'll hear how they tell stories. They've always got like a really good sense of humor in how they describe their past and their history. And what that contains is really, really interesting stories about the British Asian experience. They're from London, so that's its own thing as well. And they co-founded a group in 1999 called Imaan, which is a really important group for queer Muslims. So yeah, there's full of stories. Oh, and some teenage crushes as well.
Oh my God, amazing. A lot about religion and culture then.
Yeah. Let's listen to Faizan.
So I was born in 72.
Yeah.
So I was a teenager in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I come from my parents are immigrants from Pakistan. They were like the first wave of South Asian the first popular wave of South Asian immigrants. So we were like the first generation of immigrant children being raised in this country from our backgrounds, which was very, very different to the surroundings we found ourselves in.
Yeah.
I went to an all-girls school, which was, I'd say about 60% South Asian, 20% Afro-Caribbean, and about 20% working-class white English.
Yep.
And the popular culture around that time for people from my background was Bollywood, primarily.
Yeah.
The daytime raves were a thing that was happening. Top of the Pops, things like that. Like British culture was things like Top of the Pops and Grange Hill.
Yeah.
My particular interest, I found as I became a teenager, was drawn towards things like androgyny. And that point, in the early-ish sort of 80s, that was quite a popular thing because
that was a big thing, yeah.
Those new romantic sort of fans. I was a huge Duran fan with all the makeup, and actually that was really what was informing me about what my sexual orientation and my own sort of ideas of gender, like the very germ, the seeds of it, because there was nothing that really kind of like in popular culture became a thing until decades later. So I was really on my own.
What words would you have used at that time to yourself to describe those things? if you were being honest with yourself at using the word.
Yeah, actually, I was very internally homophobic. So
Yeah.
Pusta was a big thing. It was a slur, and in my family, it was like, and in the playground,
Yeah.
we were puss, queer, not so much, but bender, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But puff was the main thing I remember, and I remember being like really homophobic at that age,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah, but so common, right? I mean,
Very common, exactly. So I've got to tell you this story. I tell it a lot, but about 1987, there was a. Can I tell you this story? Because it kind of confuses you a lot about this.
87, did you say?
86, maybe.
So you're like 50, no.
I was 14, about 14. My mum used to go to this Asian women's social club every Wednesday. So they would just meet up every Wednesday afternoon and have tea and sometimes go on day trips at the weekend or the holidays with the kids.
Yeah.
One summer, they went on a camping trip to Debden in Essex. So there's a bunch of Asian ladies with their kids out camping. Never been, like, people like us don't go to the countryside. So it was like a bit of a sight for local Essex people, right? Not renowned for their welcoming stance towards immigrants even back then. And there was a racism, we were getting called tacky, this, that, and the other, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the backdrop to it. We're staying in this place and there's like, the kids are in one tent, mums are in other tents doing their thing. And someone started to gossip about one of the aunties who was doing like it was only women, but she was doing like, she was performing a dance. So we was gossiping and bitching about it. That led to a fight between the daughter of that auntie and a group of others. I somehow got involved.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a bit of a standoff, it was like, defending someone's honor.
Yeah.
All kind of got that spilled out back into school, like the following week when we got back.
Oh.
And I saw this same girl who suddenly arrived. I think they just arrived in London. I don't know, she was a late starter or something.
Yeah.
This kind of like tension suddenly reappeared at school. She was like eyeballing me. I was eyeballing her. This led to a fight in the corridors. I got a fat lip. She said to me, she goes, "You better not start on me because I know karate." This is like in the day film. Karate Kid was a big film.
Oh my God, that is so intense.
Karate chopped me into my face. I got a fat lip. I was late for class. I got put on a report or detention. She got a bit of trouble. But there was something about this tension and we were kind of like drawn kind of like this towards each other.
Right, yeah.
Kind of whatever. She was a bit kind of rough and I considered myself to be a bit kind of bit trouble-y as well. Kind of bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Bit edgy.
Like, both got into trouble. I think the year after that, we all left school, never heard from her again. This is like the mid-80s. Fast forward to 2011. Yeah, 2011. Long after we'd started Imaan and the whole queer Muslim organisation in the UK, long after I'd come out, long after all this stuff happened. And we had built connections with other queer Muslims around the world, so most in America, some in Canada, South Africa, etc. And we're having like a big retreat conference with all these queer Muslims. I arrive, I've been to several around the world by that point, and I arrived on my own, one of the only people with like British accent. Everyone else is like American.
Yeah.
And I was meeting new people, blah, blah, blah. This girl comes up to me, this young woman, and she's got like this half English, half American kind of accent. And she's like, "Oh, where are you from?" Like, I can't do her accent. I'm like, "I was from London." "Oh, where about?" And I said, "I'm from East London." And I'm thinking, you don't know where East London, you know London, you don't know where I'm from. Like, oh. And she goes, "Oh, what school did you go to?" I'm like, oh, I said, "My name," and then I looked down at her lanyard and she looked down at mine and it was the same person. It was her. She, after school, her family had moved to America. So we were both queer, basically. We've been met all these decades. We have met since then. We're best of friends. She helped organize my wedding and we're still in touch. Really best friends now.
And you saw each other all those. Yeah.
Something was going on. There was like some kind of vibrational thing that was happening.
Yeah. Wow.
Like gaydar had popped off before we knew what.
Yeah, exactly. How does she define herself now?
Oh, she's a lesbian. She's been with her partner for decades.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Amazing. Okay. So then like keep me going like a bit more like I guess into the 90s.
Okay. So
Some of the milestones?
Yeah, just on top of the end of the 80s, because the significant thing is that Section 28, I remember really clearly when that became like a big thing in the news.
Okay.
And it was in my final year at school, and we had a daily paper, so I sort of knew what was going on, and it was just around. I was like conscious of it, and I remember writing my English essay about Section 28 and why it was so wrong, even before I realised I was gay.
Really? What year was that when you would have written that then?
88.
88. What do you remember? Like what you said in that?
Yeah, I did. I always because of the whole line, and I don't have a brilliant memory, but this stands out for me because I remember the argument was in the papers that it was about the promotion of homosexuality, which the papers were picking out as like the Guardian, we had the Guardian back then.
Yeah.
And it was like picking up promotion to be like a really strange way of like positioning this. And so my essay was about how can you promote something how can you promote something that exists in some people? You can't influence. You either are or you're not. So I had like really clear ideas that people are born gay.
Yeah, you were a born this way type of argument. Yeah,
you can't teach people how to be gay. So my whole essay was about it's a stupid argument and you should get rid of it. And that was the end of my school career.
That was GCSE, or was it called? Was it still O levels or was it GCSE?
First year of GCSE.
Yeah. Okay. What was the reaction from your teacher? Do you remember?
I mean, I did very well English generally, so I'm imagining I got like grade from it. But I also remember around that time some homophobia around. Yeah. Again, this is like a few years before I realized I was queer myself. But I guess this is where it all starts. That you start realizing about something about yourself.
Yeah.
One of the English teachers, I think there was a rumor going around that the two drama teachers were like in a relationship together, and then one of the head teachers said that, well, if that turns out, they said to us, short kids, like, that turns out to be true, they could be out of a job. So I knew that was a bad thing. There was another room about a couple of girls found in the toilets together and I just got the feeling it was like really wrong and salacious and how they were going to get into loads of trouble. So that was like, yeah.
Did you ever think about trying to speak to a teacher or another kind of adult about you being queer yourself, like about needing any kind of support yourself or anything?
At that point at school, I didn't realize that I didn't have any attraction towards. In fact, my main thing was my question about myself I thought was strange was that all of my friends around me had pop star crushes and film crushes, and I literally wasn't attracted to anyone that I could see around me, like any pop stars or anything. I thought that was strange about me, but I didn't really understand why. Yeah, so that was one thing. But then the other telling thing is that we had a public phone box. No one had mobile phones, obviously, but there was a public phone box in the school, and there was like I think there was a thing for, maybe there was a thing for gay switchboard, or I knew about gay switchboard actually. Yeah, I remember trying to get my friends to dare me to call gay switchboard. I might have even phoned them up and kind of hung up, sort of thing. Yeah, kind of. I felt like like that whole thing about trying to get close to something, but why are you doing it, sort of thing. Yeah. But no, I didn't speak to anyone openly. I had a diary that I remember writing an entry about having strong feelings about one of my friends. But then I remember crossing it out completely. So it's all kind of crossed out because even I couldn't admit it to whatever myself. Yeah.
Hello. Our company is called Aunt Nell.
Cute name. Needs a Patreon.
Whether we're making podcasts like this one, or organising events, or facilitating queer community workshops, or training the next generation of storytellers,
Aunt Nell invites people to listen differently.
For tons of bonus content, including exclusive episodes of the logbooks, and to support all our work,
you can join our Patreon now. Go to patreon.com/AuntNell.
Membership tiers start from just a few quid a month.
Left school and then started my A-levels at the local college. So I had like this degree of freedom at that point. It's really different from school. Yeah. Like mini university, if I'm thinking about it now. Yeah. School uniform. You didn't even have to turn up to lectures if you didn't want to. Yeah. It was a lot more freer and easier. And that's where I met my first in real life queer person. There was a girl who was a couple of years older who introduced herself, and I got to know that she considers herself to be bisexual. And that just really blew my mind. I thought, I've never met anyone in real life. I've read about gay people, I've seen them on TV, and I have never seen anyone, let alone someone who's like Asian. Usually when he's Caribbean, Asian, South Asian.
Oh, yeah.
I thought South Asian.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was my first crush and my first fling, and that was like the whole thing off, really.
So that opened the options.
Yeah, that was bonkers. It was really insane.
Why was it insane?
Because I come from such a conservative background.
Yeah.
No one was allowed a boyfriend, so forget a girlfriend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one was allowed out of, school. No one was allowed to go on school trips. No one was allowed to go to each other's houses. You had to tell your parents where you were. You were worried about someone seeing you on the high street. You were worried about absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So when I went to college and this whole world opened up to me, like I had this boy asked me out and I said, yeah, just because I thought I should. And he was really good looking and really sort of, I don't know, it was like a big deal for some reason. But the whole time, I just remember like my first kiss with him at one point and feeling like nothing. And then like weeks, maybe a couple of months later, when I really got into this girl and at a party, we had our first kids and that was completely fucking different. It was at a party on the Thames. Someone had a 18th birthday party on a boat.
Yeah.
It was a week before the Marchioness disaster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I remember that much. And we were on a boat, if not, I don't know, it wasn't that boat. It was on a similar boat.
Yeah.
And she was there at the party and I was just moping because I really wanted to, some blokes were fucking chatting me up and chatting her up and she had a boyfriend. And I was just not interested in whoever was talking to me. And I was like moping around her the whole time. And then finally I said to her, I have a crush on you. And she goes, oh, let's go for a walk. So we went walking around Embankment. I think the Ministry of Defence building was there at that point, and we went and sat down. And then I was just like playing with my hair, I had that really long hair, and I was playing with my hair. And then she turned to me, I swear it was like a film. She was like, here, look at me. I'm like, what? And then she kissed me, and my God, it was like fucking fireworks. It was like, honestly, it was like what you imagine, like your first kiss.
Wow.
And it was all of that and more. And then at that moment, there's a policewoman who doing like a patrol with her partner around and saw us. I thought we were going to get arrested, and the woman was like, oh, you need to leave. You can't sit here. You've got her. So we just left it because I thought we were going to get arrested.
Wow. She was telling you that you can't kiss each other on the bench in public.
Well, we were on the steps of the Ministry of Defence and she asked us to move along, and I assumed it was because I didn't realise obviously it's the Ministry of Defence they're protecting rather than.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know to this day what it was, but she asked her to move on. But I remember being genuinely scared. I thought we were about to get arrested.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So can you tell me a bit more over this time period, I guess 80s and 90s, about the kind of like before Imaan, because Imaan's 99, right? Is that right? Yeah, so kind of the 2 decades leading up to that about, and I guess I'm asking you sort of like, it's kind of like a history question, isn't it? Like what was the status and the experience like for queer Muslims in Britain over those 2 decades, 80s and 90s, I suppose?
I can't say that I had met anyone from who is either South Asian, because look, you have to remember this. Muslims weren't like a definable demographic, like in the public consciousness until I'd say maybe the late 80s. The first time that I remember seeing British Muslims really in the news were things like the Salman Rushdie affair, Planet Versus. You'd hear things from Iran, you'd hear bits and bobs from abroad, but not really, like British Muslims weren't really noticed at all. You there was like the odd program on TV on like Saturday mornings on BBC Two, but not much there. So I didn't meet anyone other than like this, like I said, this girl from college in the late 80s,
Yeah.
Asian. And then, so do you see what I mean? I didn't meet anyone until like after I came back from university. And so that was the late 90s by this point. And that's when I went out looking for people.
Right.
And the first people that I met, probably around 98 or so, were at Club Carly, which is still going, you know?
Of course, yeah.
And then 99 is when we started Imaan. So there wasn't really anyone. I didn't know any Asians. I didn't know any Muslims.
Yeah.
Who were LGBTQ plus. I literally thought I was the only one.
What do you know, if anything, though, of people that you didn't know, but, you know, were people, I mean, yeah, because, you know, all of these people would have existed, right? You didn't know them, you didn't have access to them, there wasn't the representation, all of that. But of those people that did exist, and like, if there was any kind of like queer Muslim life where people were coming together or meeting each other or talking or even stuff like that, like, what do you know of that from other conversations that you've had with other people?
So I guess when I met the people from Imaan, like who were living their lives separately, like I was,
Yeah,
that we met. So I knew that, you know, out of say the founders, for example,
yeah,
one of us was being pressured into an arranged marriage, and then it escapes that. Someone else was fleeing Pakistan and, you know, trying to come to the UK, and they came to the UK. Other people were discovering their sexuality through work and going out after work.
yeah.
Basically, everyone had a double life.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And Club Carly, I guess, for some people, was part of one of the lives.
That was probably a main draw for like lots of Asians. Like I said, it was mostly South Asian people. It wasn't even South Asian, it was just Asian. We didn't even distinguish ourselves. And I guess mostly the blokes who were meeting each other at that point. It was really rare to find women.
Yeah.
And there weren't any, I didn't come across anyone who was trans.
Yeah.
Until like maybe the early noughties.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a few logbook entries from Switchboard where, you know, that's something that says things like, you know, Muslim girl teenager called, she's being pressured to have a boyfriend or to have an arranged marriage, but she knows she's a lesbian, but she won't say the word. There's quite a lot of, I mean, that, you know, there's not a lot of Muslim, well, you never know the full identities of the different people calling, but I think there's not a lot of Muslim or South Asian people that call Switchboard compared to other like identities and backgrounds based on what we do know. And also because Switchboard was, you know, had its own problems with diversity and outreach and stuff like that, which, you know, we will address. But there is this sense of like isolation among those people that do call with that type of story.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was anything like my experience. And the people that I've met since then, who I've heard backstories from, everyone was battling, you know, their situation completely on their own. It was extremely isolating.
What were the early years of Imaan like then?
Really euphoric, actually. It gave me like a massive purpose and a massive boost in my life to finally, I was in my mid sort of 20s, I think, mid-late 20s by that point.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine years, or like a good 10 plus years of battling all this stuff by myself.
Yeah.
And then meeting suddenly a bunch of people who were just exactly like me, who spoke the same language, who had the same religious hang-ups, who had battled things like arranged marriages and escaped them, or was still being kind of coerced and stuff, all sorts of horrible things. It was really energizing. It was like a combination of being that age and having that amount of energy and having a real purpose, because it was really clear that we needed to support each other.
Yeah.
And we needed to help other people who were still isolated. It was effortless, actually, the amount that we did.
Yeah.
And how organized we became, and how we divided up roles about what we were doing, and how we were managing our paid jobs on top of doing this volunteer work. I mean, for example, the first chairperson was a was he, I don't know if he was a refugee, but he escaped Pakistan, but he would handle like our, helpline at the same time.
Wow.
All the threats from the, because we were starting to get threats as well.
Yeah.
So he's handling all of that. I was, doing things like photocopying at work and doing press interviews with radio, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Little edit suites. I worked at TV like straight after university.
Yeah.
We'd have fundraisers where we all were assigned who was going to cook what. My thing was always like the salad. Someone else would do a curry. Someone else would do like the biryani. Yeah. We'd have like a fundraiser always at Azim's house, who was like one of our founders, because he was one with the flash flat. He still is. So big open space in Hackney. This is in the days when people could buy their own place.
Oh my God, don't even.
Yeah. So we'd have, pay a $5 to get in. All that money would go towards like a big event, like a big conference. And then that would subsidize people's travel and whatnot to come from different parts of it.
Yeah, because the conferences were a big thing that you did as well, wasn't it?
It was huge. It was like...
And international as well.
It's straight away, they were international. We had people come from, like I said, Canada, South Africa, US.
Yeah.
In Europe, stuff like that. But we managed all of this. Imagine having a full-time job. Yeah. Managing your own personal social life, your social life, really busy, especially around that age.
Wow.
And running this big international thing in secret and hiding from all these homophobes and Islamophobes at the same time, because like it was quite a dangerous thing. It was a very dangerous thing as well.
Yeah.
So little known about that period because like we just didn't tell anyone.
What do you think of the word family to describe what you were doing?
It was 100% like family. Honestly, it was like that. I didn't know the term chosen family until after Imaan started. But that was 100% what it was. I remember saying to Z at one point, we had an argument and I was trying to make up with him. I said that, you're closer to me than my own actual brothers. All of that, I realized this is another thing, that I was surrounded by men.
Yeah.
But they were like my brother, and they are still like my family with, lifelong friends. And it was definitely the things that we could tell each other, that we understood.
Yeah.
We could support each other through.
Yeah.
Without having to explain too much.
Wow, amazing to think Imaan is still going.
That's right. Yeah, they've kind of passed it on to the next generation, and it's probably just that group that kind of keeps renewing, keeps growing, etc. And it's the kind of community group, really, the kind of faith-based group that's really important for queer people to have, especially because some people think that having a faith or being from a faith is incompatible with being queer in the other direction, and that's not the experience for some people. So, like, it's really important to be able to have those spaces for people to come together like that.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and something that we go into with other people in the book, as well as first crushes.
Yes, of course, lots of first crushes, and your stuff to do with Catholicism, but people are going to have to read the book for that.
Do check out Faber Members. Faber Books is free to join programme of events and online content.
The Logbooks is an Aunt Nell production.
It is hosted and produced by Tash Walker and Adam Zmith.
The voice of The Logbooks is Serena James.
The assistant producer is Marnie Woodmeade.
Engineered by David Pye.
Music by Tom Foskett-Barnes.
Original artwork by Natalie Doto.
Thanks to Steph Dickers and team at the Bishopsgate Institute.
Our publisher, Faber Books.
The dreamboats at Acast.
The staff and volunteers at Switchboard, and all the contributors who shared their stories.
Switchboard continues to take phone calls from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. If you're affected by any of the issues in this podcast, or need to discuss anything to do with your gender identity or sexuality, you can call Switchboard on 0800 0119 100. Email hello@switchboard.lgbt or instant message via switchboard.lgbt, where you can also donate money or time to help.